relax. Today, in case you did not read the description, I'm reading you some philosophy because why not? Why not? That's what philosophy is about. Is why? So, because I filmed my sleep video, and then I was like, what if I did some reading? So I was like, I have no nails on. Sorry about that. That's why I was like, I don't really want to do a tappy video because I have no nails on. But I recently went to the library because I read, I think I average 30 books a year. So to buy them all seems a little crazy. So I definitely wanted to borrow some. So I was like, what if I read some philosophy? But obviously philosophy is like, you read the book, you get a main message behind it. Some philosophies, or at least the ones that I own, you can't read a chapter and then like get the main idea. So I was like, I need to borrow a philosophy that's like short and sharp, straight to the point. And also, I'm very sorry if you hear any coughing, sneezing. I'll try and edit most of it out. It's the people I'm living with, they're sick. So yes, I am stuck in my room trying to stay safe. So I went to the library and I borrowed this. The 30-second philosophies. I'm excited. So I decided to add a little bit of fun to this video, and I thought instead of practicing pronouncing these people's names, I would just go straight in and read it, because usually I read philosophy in my head and I make up how these people's names are pronounced. So these philosophers are about to be like demolished in how I pronounce them. My pronunciation is very bad. But just to give you before I started, I'm up to there. That was hard. But it has, like, you've got Plato's cave, and it will have some art that is similar to the theory, a joke or a comment down here. Similar philosophies that are in this book, and also related books that you could buy. This is the main philosophy that's supposed to take 30 seconds to read. I can assure you it does not. Then you've got a 3-second thrash, just a quick comment, and then a 3-minute thought, which is a little bit something to get you thinking. So I thought, instead of practicing how to pronounce these words, I'm gonna leave it up to you guys to guess what I'm saying. I would try my best, but I thought I just flipped to a random page because they're all different. There are sections. I took it down, I think. So we've got language and logic, science and epistemology, mind and metaphysics, one of my favorites, ethics and political philosophy, could be controversial, religion, grand moments, continental philosophy. So within these language and logic, we've got Aristotle's syllogisms. We have got Russell's paradox and Frege's logism. We've got, so throughout the book you have profiles. Let's see if I can it's on one philosopher. This one is Aristotle. and it's like a little bit of information, his timeline of like living, and a little bit of his philosophies. Anyway, so I am very excited for today video. It's gonna be a bit of fun, so maybe I don't know, we'll see how it goes. Let's see this back crack. Oh yeah, between each single new topic like minor metaphysics, science and epistemology, you got a glossary of the main keywords. Let's skip that. Let's guess. Okay, let's pick up one at random. If it's really, really difficult, I will just skip it because I want, yeah. Oh. While I was in school, I only did this one. I did philosophy in school. I don't recommend, unless you want to really, really be exhausted. Like any physics, any science, any advanced math exam was put to shame with how difficult it was compared to the philosophy assessments. Mill's utilitarianism. I don't love utilitarianism. I don't believe it nor agree with it, but utilitarianism is very interesting in my opinion. So we have some ice cream. A picture of, I presume, Mills. Immanuel Kant was one of this, and John Stuart Mills. Okay. The central claim of John Stuart Mill's theory of utilitarianism is that actions are right to the extent that they tend to promote happiness, and wrong to the extent that they produce unhappiness, where happiness meets pleasure and unhappiness meets pain. A key pleasure and unhappiness, a key point here is that Mill is talking about aggregating happiness, or the greatest happiness for the greatest number of people. However, Mill was not happy to leave this formulation as it stood, since it allowed for the possibility that it might be better to spend one's life engaged in hedonistic pursuits rather than partaking of the fruits of human civilization. Consequently, he introduced the idea that certain kinds of pleasure are better than others. Listening to Mozart, for example, is likely a better kind of pleasure than eating Ben & Jerry's ice cream. He justified this contention by an appeal to experience. Nobody who has experienced both higher and lower pleasures would be willing to swap a life filled with the former for a life filled with the latter. As he put it, no intelligent human being would consent to be a fool, even though they should be persuaded that the fool, the dunce, or the rascal is better satisfied with his lot than they are with theirs. Now, for the thrash, the 3-second thrash. An action is right to the extent that it tends to promote happiness, particularly if it is the right kind of happiness. The issue with this theory, the issue was, I feel like one of the main, most known philosophical issues is the trolley. So if you have got a train, it's traveling, and there's two and it's only one other person. So the issue with the theorem was that it just didn't take into consideration relationships within people. Okay, the 3-minute thought. There are many difficult issues with utilitarianism. Consider, for example, that if an action is right to the extent that it promotes the greatest happiness of the greatest number of people, then it might be justified to torture a thief in a football stadium if it meant that the crowd went home happy. Moreover, Mill's arguments about higher pleasures are suspect. The fact that people who have experienced Mozart and ice cream might prefer Mozart doesn't mean to be a moral argument, but simply a matter of individual taste. Then the little joke thing says, according to John Stuart Mill, it is very good to put on a public performance of Mozart, and it is still okay to sell ice cream in the interval. I love how they do that. Okay. I don't. That's a lot. This could be interesting. Okay. Aristotle's 4 causes. We got some. I can't really tell what that is. Some kind of drawing. Okay, let's read the main bit of writing first. There is no doubt that the ancient Greek philosopher Aristotle was a rare genius. Not only did he bring rigor and clarity to every discipline he touched, but he also invented whole new disciplines. One of the intellectual tools he uses in his endeavor is called the 4 causes. For any why question you might ask about a thing, he argues, there are 4 sorts of answers, 4 explanatory causes of that thing, which can be identified. To borrow Aristotle's example, we can answer the question, why is that a statue? In 4 different ways. We can say 1, it's a statue because it's made of the stuff statues are made of, maybe bronze or stone. It's material cause. 2, we can say it's a statue because that is the kind of thing it is in its formal cause. We can say 3, it's a statue because it was made by a sculptor, its efficient cause. And finally we can say 4, it is a statue because it is something, because it is doing what statues are supposed to do. Maybe it is decorating a room, its final cause. To know the 4 causes is to know not only the physical facts of a thing, but to understand its point and its purpose. Okay, the 3-second thrash is why, you ask. And then we can better analyze that with the 4 causes. The 3-minute thought. It is not only statues, but also natural objects that have points and purposes. According to Aristotle, the purpose of an acorn, for example, is to become an oak tree. If you don't know that, you don't really understand an acorn, or so Aristotle thought. It took a lot, 2,000 years of thinking, and another rare genius, Charles Darwin, 1809 to 1882, to take us beyond seeing Aristotelian purposes everywhere. Again, then the little joke thing is Aristotle liked to give very complete answers. Every question had at least 4. Okay, very good. The introduction. Oh wait, there's a really good one. Let me find it. As I was looking for the really good one, I came across a good one as well. I thought I could do both. The first one is, I feel like if you know general philosophy, you should know this. I think, therefore I am. I'm gonna bomb his name. You guys ready? René Descartes. I don't know. Perhaps the first great modern philosopher discovered that much of what he was taught by his Jesuit teachers was doubtful. each one of his beliefs and then to abandon any of them that it was possible to doubt. In this way, he showed that it is easy enough to doubt the truth of all of our sensory experiences. We might be dreaming and yet not be aware of it, and most disconcertingly, that it is possible that we've been deceived about absolutely everything, even the simplest truths of mathematics, by an evil demon. Happily, this technique also establishes that in the very act of doubting, we know there must be an I, which is doing the doubting. As Descartes put it, cogito ergo sum. I am thinking, therefore I am. The 3-second thrash. You can doubt that there are other minds, that humans have bodies. Even that philosophers are smart, but you can never doubt there is an I doing the doubting. A 3-minute thought. The trouble with Descartes' method of doubt is that the one indubitable truth, I exist, is not sufficient to retrieve knowledge of the world and mathematics. Descartes relied on God for this trick. He first proves that God exists and is not a deceiver. If God is no deceiver, then we are not systematically misled about those things we clearly and distinctly perceive and which survive rational scrutiny. From here, it is fairly easy to retrieve certain of our beliefs about the world. Rene was sure he existed, but he wasn't sure about those other two. Okay, and something about a lying paradox. The one I learned. This one's really good as well. This one will play with your mind a little bit. That's why I love it. Okay. The brain in the vat. I might sound crazy while reading this one, but I mean it is actually a possibility. The brain in a vat. The brain in a vat thought experiment, a version of which is the premises of the Matrix film, tends to be employed to tell us something about our knowledge of the world. It asks us to imagine that a brain has been detached from a person's body, placed into a vat of fluid, and then connected to a device that entirely replicates the electrical impulses that normally come in from the outside world. The idea is that this will produce an experience of a virtual reality that is indistinguishable from the real world. This introduces the problem of radical skepticism. Specifically, it seems possible that we are living in a virtual world, but do not know it. This in turn would mean that all of our beliefs about the world, for example that I'm currently typing this text on a word processor, are false. If we accept that this is possible, then seemingly we must concede that we cannot know what we take to be true about the world is, in fact, true. In other words, if it is possible that something like the scenario portrayed in the Matrix is true, then we have to accept that there is no secure foundation for our knowledge of the world. 3-second thrash. You think you are holding this book, reading this sentence, but actually you are a brain in a vat being fed electrical impulses by the supercomputer located in Boston. The 3-minute thought. The philosopher Hilary Putman rejects the skeptical implications of the brain in a vat thought experiment. He argues, roughly speaking, that the words that a person uses inside a virtual world refer to the constituent elements of that world, not to the things in a purported outside world. Therefore, whether I am sitting under a tree, for example, depends upon the state of affairs that exists in the particular world that I inhabited, virtual or otherwise. Surely you are more than a brain in a vat. Are you certain? Perhaps. This is a picture of you. Perhaps it's a picture of you. There's one about lying, and I actually really enjoyed it. paradoxes. The ancient Greek philosopher Zeno of Elea conceived of many paradoxes of time and motion. For instance, logically it can be argued that if Achilles gives a tortoise a head start in a race, then he could never overtake it as long as the tortoise keeps moving. This is because in order to first overtake it, he must reach where the tortoise is, but by the time that he gets there, the tortoise will have moved on. So Achilles must then reach where the tortoise has moved on to, but once he gets there, the tortoise is already gone, and so on. Another paradox states that an arrow can never move, since in any given moment of time, the arrow had to completely occupy a certain space, like a photograph at any given moment. The arrow is where it is, and not somewhere else, hence it is stationary. But if time is no more than a series of moments, and if the arrow is stationary at every particular movement, it never moves. Yet we know that arrows do move, and that Achilles can overtake the tortoise. So what is flawed? Our view of reality or the logic of paradoxes? That's a big one. 3-second thrash. It may not be better to travel than to arrive, but at least it's possible. 3-minute thought. The key to solving the paradoxes is to look at what they assume. That time is a series of static movements. The arrow, or that space and time can be divided up into even smaller chunks. The tortoise. In order to generate the puzzles, we have to assume certain things about the nature of time and space. Zeno's paradox. Draw out these assumptions and make us question them. Zeno's motion paradoxes had the ancient world running hard just to stay still, but without the questions posed by the paradoxes. Physicists would not have gotten the modern world on the move by explaining the nature of space, time, and matter. I'll find the lying one now. Now, this one is a little bit confusing, but I think it's very, very good. There goes the bookmark. Let's go. This is Epimendes' liar paradox. Epimendes was a 6th century BC Cretan philosopher who is reputed to have said all Cretans are liars. If his utterance is true, then he is lying, and what he said is false. This is an ancient version of what has come to be known as the liar paradox. Okay, our contemporary version is based on one. Point number 1. Sentence 1 is not true. If sentence 1 is true, then it is not true, and if it's not true, then it's true. Because the sentence is sentence 1 is not true. So if it's true, then the sentence is false. But if the sentence is false, then the sentence is actually true. The paradox arises because it seems to be part of the meaning of is true, that where S, the sentence, can be any sentence, one can validly infer S is true from S, and also validly infer S from S is true from 1, or the sentence 1 is not true. We can infer both that S is true and that S is not true. A paradox. The most famous response to the lie paradox came from the logician Alfred Tarski, who distinguished a language from a meta-language in which one can refer to sentences of language. It is possible to define is true in L, is true in language, in meta-language without paradox. 3-second thrash. This sentence is false. Now, if the sentence is true, then it is false. And if that sentence is false, then it's true. Therefore, the lie paradox. 3-minute thought. The concept of the truth is too important to philosophy and scientific thinking to overlook. So there have been many attempts to solve the lie paradox. Tarski's idea gives up on there being a single concept of truth applicable one of you said the truth is rarely pure and never simple. Whoever it was, you are a liar. Thank you so much for being